Hello, and thank you for joining us for this week's Ask Joe. Our topic this week is going to be about alignments and roading in Survey Pro. So we're going to discuss how to create and edit alignments, stake out with those alignments, integrate those into the roading module with the templates, all the other facets that you can add in on the roading, and also about importing those alignments and such from any Office program that you may have where you're designing that. So available for questions today and presenting is Joe Sass, who is the Channel Development Manager for Spectra Precision. And as a field application engineer, he is the liaison between the product marketing, sales, and engineering. So he's kind of involved in everything that happens for us. He's got a degree in geography that blends well with his passion for surveying. Since 1998, he's been active with the California Land Surveyors Association, convenient since he lives there. And in 2004, he began representing us with the RTCM Standards Organization, and he currently sits on the board of directors with that. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to Joe Sass, and if you have any questions, feel free to throw them out there. We'll be answering some during the presentation, and we will get to most of them at the end as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Binder. Joe Sass here. Thank you all for coming today. I wanted to have my camera on to begin with, just so you knew I was a live person and not a robot, but now I'm going to turn it off. Hopefully that's off and you can see my screen. All right, Survey Pro has a roading module. Some people like it a lot. It's a quite easy roading program, and I thought I would spend today just a few minutes to go over that for those who don't know about it. So let's begin with horizontal and vertical alignments. You can see under the job setting of Survey Pro, there's an edit alignments feature, and that's where we'll be going. And alignments are really the basis of roads. There are 3 elements of an alignment, maybe 4, I can't remember the slide very well. The general properties where I can give it a description and I can put it on a layer. Survey Pro is a layer-oriented program, and so I can put my alignments on various layers as well. A point of beginning is another element of the alignment, and so here I can either use a location or a point in the job. And then horizontal instructions. What is the actual horizontal alignment going to do? And Survey Pro allows you to enter straight lines, circular curves, and spiral curves. Optionally, an alignment can have a vertical component. It's not necessary, but it is there and available. And the vertical instructions can include straight lines and circular curves. So here, job edit alignments will create an alignment. Hit new. And you can see up here at the top, we have horizontal alignments, vertical alignment, the point of beginning. It's an old American survey term, point of beginning. And then the general properties, which I showed you these 4 tabs earlier. And we'll hit the insert button to insert a horizontal component. Here I'm going to enter an arc, but I could enter a line or a spiral. And instead of radius, I might have delta or delta degrees of arc or degrees of chord. And alternatives to the length would be a chord, a tangent, a delta, or a mid-ordinate. I can tell Survey Pro whether or not this arc is going to go left or right. And if I had a previous segment, I could make that tangent. You'll see that in the next slide. When I'm happy with this segment of my horizontal alignment, I hit the green check mark up here, and it will show me what I've got so far. I can insert additional segments, which I will. And this one's going to be a line. It's going to be 10 meters long. I'm using meters in this example. And here I've said, make this straight line tangent to the outgoing direction of the arc I just defined, which happens to be 81.49 degrees. So here you can see in my horizontal alignment, I've got 2 segments. I've got an arc and I've got a line defined. I'll now go on and define a vertical component to this alignment. Same thing as the horizontal, I insert. So here I can insert a vertical grade or a vertical curve, vertical grade obviously being a straight grade, and then the vertical curve to transition between grades. Grade can be calculated by using 2 points, like the grade between points 1 and 2, and that can define this number here. I've also got a calculator. A lot of people don't understand that there is a calculator. So if I'm in this field up here, 60.5 meters, and I were to then open up this drop-down box and click on calculator, that 60.5 is going to be populated directly into my calculator, and I can use that number or not for future calculations to calculate exactly what number I do want in here. And then this AU conversion, probably not many people in this audience, but it will convert decimal feet to units of inches. So here you can see points can be selected to calculate these values if I don't know those values or can't pull them off the plan. And Survey Pro allows me to do some vertical exaggeration. These are these 2 buttons here so that I can see this vertical curve going on right here. And that's a ×10 exaggeration here. So my vertical alignment is defined. Where do I want this alignment to be to begin? An alignment can be used over and over and over again in different places just by changing this POB. I might be building identical housing tracts that have identical alignments in different cities or different states, and I could take and port those alignments to different job sites just by redefining the point of beginning. Just a comment about stationing. I'm not sure how many people understand the nomenclature or the syntax of stationing. Here in the start station, we see 0 + 0, 0, which means I'm at the point of beginning. I'm at the very beginning of the line. The decimal, the number before the plus sign indicates units of 100. In rare cases, on very long alignments like roads or rail, a station could actually be 1,000 units, whether it's feet or meters. But typically it's 100 feet or 100 meters. And the unit after the plus sign is that distance between the station before that. I've given some examples there, and hopefully that makes sense. If not, we can come back to this later for those of you who might have questions about it. And here on the General tab, we're allowed to give the alignment a name and put it on a layer. And if I were to drop this box down, I could create new layers, or if I drop this box down here, I can choose from existing layers. The alignment, once it's built, it can still be edited. It's not locked in stone. And we can have as many alignments here as we want to define. These alignments are for stakeout in any of the Survey Pro line staking features or routines: the stake to line, offset, slope staking, stake skew line, line and offset, curve and offset road, and road staking. So we've got our alignment. It's got a vertical and a horizontal component. It's got a point of beginning. It's got a name. Now we can go out and stake it. Here in my example, I'll just use the stake to line feature. I can create an alignment from this page. I can create a polyline here. I can select a polyline, or I can just tap on it. So tap line puts me into a map page where I can then just tap on this alignment that I've created. Yes, Joe Binder.
I get asked a question quite often about what's the difference between a polyline and an alignment.
Okay, good question. Thank you. So a polyline is just connecting the dots, right? It's just from point 1 to point 3 to point 8 to point 7, whatever that is, that's a polyline. Whereas an alignment is defined with horizontal components separated from vertical components in one way, and then it's also allowing the insertion of curves and arcs and spirals. So that's the difference. I hope that answers that. In fact, that's kind of what this says. Polylines are point-based definitions. So here you can see I've got access to the alignment editor. I can choose the alignment from a list of alignments. I can tap on the alignment. I can reverse the alignment. And here I am staking to the line that I created. And here you can see that I'm offset from that line by 45 degrees at a distance of 9.7 meters. and I'm at station 0 plus 10, which means I'm 10 meters, 10.1 meters from the point of beginning on the station. And right at this point, which is me right here, if I wanted to get to the vertical component, I would have 2.5 meters of cut. So that's stake to line. So roads is a purchase module of Survey Pro. It does not come by default. And it's here on the very last of the main menu pages. And really, it's quite simple. There's just 4 features. I can manage the road, which means I can edit or create or import. And then there's the road staking modules themselves right here. So the 20,000 foot level here, this is just kind of a schematic of what we're doing. So if we go back one slide, manage roads is this right here, the create. That's this box right here, where we either import it or we create it, we make our definitions. And at that point, we might generate reports from that. But typically, we're going to then go out and stake it. And you can see we've got slope staking, road staking, show station, and that's what we've got here. And at the end, I'm probably likely going to generate reports based on cut and fill volumes or results from my stakeout. So if I'm defining the road in another piece of software, there are some rules that apply. For instance, you can see on the land XML, the road shall be defined by this term here, the cross-section surface. And if there's multiple surfaces, then each one of those is going to be imported as a separate road. If you're using Trimble Business Center or Survey Office, the best templates, several of them work, but the best template over here on the export feature, export road, or actually inside the Office software, it's called Corridor. And it's to use the Trimble Access Road RXL templates. That works the very best for Survey Pro's purposes. There are some other rules. There are some certain complex spirals, for instance, that have different length radii. Those are not allowed. So there are a few other rules. Additionally, let me just say that super elevations, I cannot define super elevations inside Survey Pro. But if this road were to have super elevations, we would certainly template it out perfectly so that you would get those super elevated surfaces, even though I can't define them inside the field software. So typically, the alignment that we use is the center line of the road, but it doesn't have to be. But typically it is. And templates contain the cross-section detail of the road. How wide is the road between each element of that cross-section segment? And we'll work through. So we have the stations and the templates. Here's the general, the point of beginning definition, the name of the road, where it starts. And then we'll go in and we'll build some templates and stations and see how that works. So roads, manage roads, obviously. And we're going to add. Survey Pro allows me to import, so I could import XML from any third-party CAD software. I could import an RXL from Survey Office, or in this case, we're going to create new. Whenever you see a red button like this inside Survey Pro, it means that you can hit the Enter key. We assume that's what you want to do as the most likely choice. We turn the button red, and that way you don't necessarily have to touch the touchpad. And you can just hit the Enter button on your device. The road can be named in the station interval preset. Obviously, you can stake any section, but you'll see that we have a method for driving you down the road in a cross-section format, typically. And so here is the distance between each element of that cross-section stake. So here we're on the templates tab and we're going to add a new template. So Survey Pro describes the entire road. Whenever I'm building these templates, we build them on the right side of the road looking forward. We can apply these templates later on to the left side of the road, but all of the definitions take place from left to right. Center line is on the left and then we build out to the right. So the first segment is from the center line to the edge of pavement. I've just used a nothing little abbreviation here to help the example. We're going to go 4.5 meters out from the center line to the edge of pavement, and it's going to have a minus 2% grade. And you can see this minus 2% is represented here. We're going to insert another segment that goes from the edge of pavement to the back of curb. It has minus 4% grade, and it's only 25 centimeters wide. We then have the back of curb to top of curb. You can see it's a nearly vertical element. And then we've got a fourth segment top of curb to the V-ditch down, V-ditch back up. And then if I want to talk about what to do past these ends here, what do I do here? Because this is where we have to hit the terrain somehow, and that's called slope staking. Talk about that in a little bit. But what do? I come up here into properties, and I tell the system what to do if you encounter a cut slope, or what to do if you encounter a fill slope. If I want to have an additional cut ditch width, I can define that here. And we graphically present this when we are done with this page, you'll see it graphically presented. Here we're expressing slope as a percentage, and here we're expressing it as rise over run. Same difference. So here you can see we've got each individual segment, and these are our side slopes, what to do in case of fill and cut. And right now I'm highlighted on this third template, first segment. So I've built the templates. I know what the road looks like left and right. I've described that through my templates. Now I need to assign that actually at various lengths along my road at various stations, right? So at the very beginning, point of beginning, I'm going to use template number 1. And you can see I'm going to use template number 1 on the left and template number 1 on the right. And this is where I can assign different widths, different forms, different shapes to the road left and right, even though everything I built is on the right. The road has been defined. There might be a point where I need to, like the point of curvature that's not on station. For instance, I had a stationing of 5. I've stationed this template to begin at station number 2. Right here, I want to stake this station. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. I want to stake this station, but what I'm telling it to do is really to just interpolate the road between template 2 and template 3 down here, which you can't see. Template 2 and template 3, just keep the same thing going. I just need to stop at this station and cross-section it there. Well, the road's been defined. You see roughly the way it looks. This is the same road as rendered by Survey Office. And now it's ready to be staked, right? So road stakeout. We can select our road. I can have multiple roads. If I have multiple roads defined, I would pick them out of this top drop-down list. I can tap on the road, which I've got here, and hit next. You can see the road is starting at station 0+00, and it's ending at the end of the road at station 0+70.571. So it's not a very long road. It's only 70 meters long. It happens to be the cul-de-sac on which I live. Survey Pro tells you when you're on these various points of interest. So regular cross-section, that's where we've defined it, where the road starts, the template assignment that we're in, and where we might have a point of vertical intersection. This auto advance tab is what I was mentioning earlier, and I'll show you how that works. But you can see right here, I'm on the center, and it tells me I'm on the center. If I wanted to hit any of these elements going off to the side of the road, I would hit this button here, off to the right side of the road, this button here, and I would then be able to go and stake that element. So right now, I'm going for station 00 on the center. I have this auto advance, which allows Survey Pro to drive me in my cross section. So if I were to choose advancement mode number 2, I would start on the right side of the road and I'd work my way across to the left side of the road. Sorry, I didn't mean to do that. over to the left side of the road. I would go up my 5-meter station, and I'd go back and forth, and it would drive me across all of these elements of my road, all of these intersections of the segments that we built in our templates in an automated way. I don't have to do that, but it is a very convenient way, and most people do it that way. I can also enter a subgrade if I want, or an offset left or right. So here you can see clicking these takes me to various elements along this. You can see I've clicked on the right arrow, and I'm at this point EP to BC, and over here I'm at TC to V ditch. Right before that, top of curb to the V ditch. So if I keep on going next through my stationing, next, eventually it stops at station number 37, which is not an increment of 5, right? And that's because I inserted the instruction in the road that said I need to stake station number 0 plus 37. And so even though it's not on my even stationing that I told Survey Pro to do, because I put that instruction in the road, it stops there. Just to comment, subgrades are positive, right? The logic could go either way. And I'm not sure why, but I might want to offset left or right of my station. Maybe that's where the stake goes, for instance. So here you can see I'm staking 0 plus 15. That's where I'm at. And with that, I'm within 2 millimeters and 7 millimeters of finding that position on the road. You can see that my GPS antenna is directly on top of the target. And right at that point, I've got 82 centimeters of cut to hit the design surface. Once I've taken that, a lot of times I need to mark up the lath, the wood there, the stake, to actually put my information on there. And this is that results page that allows me to mark up my stake. Okay, almost done here. Slope staking. By the way, just because we have an hour on the calendar for this meeting doesn't mean it has to take an hour. When we get done, and then we open it up for questions, and then you guys can get back to your day. So slope staking. Slope staking can be confusing, but really we've got a design of a road, and then when the road gets to the end, the edges, we got to find a way to find where it hits the terrain. The road has a vertical component, and that vertical component may or may not agree with the actual terrain. And so when we get to the side of the road, we are usually, unless we're perfect, going to have some kind of cut or some kind of a fill that we have to account for. Now, in flat terrain, places like Texas and Oklahoma, they've never even heard of slope staking, I think. So this is not something that's common everywhere, but it is certainly something that is necessary and useful. So we're trying to find the edges. We're not staking the V ditch. We're not staking the back of curb or the edge of pavement or the center line. We're trying to find the side of the road and where that edge meets the existing terrain, right? We have a horizontal map view, a vertical map view, and again, the logic of whether one's horizontal and one's vertical could be made, the argument could be made either way. And then the fill hinge points. This is what we're trying to find. Where is that hinge point that allows, that starts the slope that hits the terrain, right? That makes sense, I hope. And same thing with the cut hinge points. I'm going back again, just a couple of what we're talking about are these points right here. This hinge, this is a cut hinge point. This is a fill hinge point. Where do I need to, where does this point begin so that my 45 degrees of slope goes, and where does that 45 degree of slope hit the ground? So that's what we're trying to do here, and that's what these parameters are about. So here you can see I've slope staked station 0 plus 15 to within 3 centimeters. So I need to go towards the center line 1.5 centimeters, and I need to go ahead station 2.5 centimeters to actually find that. Some of these values, what we call, go stale. And so some of these right here are always dynamic, and every time I take a shot, these numbers are updated, right? So Survey Pro has to guess based on where you were last to tell you where to go next. And that's just the reality of slope staking. Okay, finally, show station, right? A lot of people want to see their station while they're road staking or while they're slope staking. And one of the techniques that we can do is underneath this gold star, we call it the quick pick, I can actually add show station to this so that even if I'm in road stakeout or if I'm in slope staking, I still have access to the show station, which is quite useful. It's nothing more than showing me where I'm at in relation to the road templates, right? Select the road again. And here it is, the alignment details. I am at station 0 plus 11.5. I'm right of an arc, and I'm in template 1 of our road, and in the segment CL, so center line to EP, right? I'm at an elevation of 510, an offset distance from the center line of 82 centimeters. And that's all show station does, right? But it's a nice, it also provides cross-section data, I'm sorry, and it also provides shot data. So these are the details that are often necessary to orient and useful in the field. Shot data here. What is my northing and easting? Not used a lot in roads, but sometimes. And that's the show station, and I think that's the end of this presentation. Yes. So I have no idea who's out there in the audience or how many of you, if I've lost any of you, but I want to thank you anyhow. In whatever language you speak, thank you, thank you. So we can open it up for questions if there are any.
Well, appreciate you all coming. Doesn't appear to have any questions coming up, Joe. But if there are any, feel free to reach out to us directly. Otherwise, we look forward to seeing you next weekend. Thank you.
What's the program next week? The next week is?
Next week is Layout Pro.
Layout Pro. Great. Great construction software. I hope you guys can attend. Thank you.
Bye-bye.